What's up, guys? Miticus here, bringing you power rankings for week 1 of the American Pokemon Association, our first Wi-Fi season. Last week, your power rankings were done by Creeperhugger, also known as Carson. This week, he just was not able to get the time to put together a list. I think he had some things going on, and he didn't have the time. And so I have stepped in. And I know I am one of the coaches of the APA. I'm also one of the commissioners. So I'm going to be very, very unbiased with this list. I'm not going to pull any kind of favor whatsoever towards myself. And I think you'll be able to see that in the rankings themselves. I just really, really wanted power rankings to be consistent this season. And so since Carson was not able to do the power rankings, I took it upon myself to go ahead and get a list together. Now this list has no relation whatsoever with Carson's list that he put out last week. He'll go back to his revised list next week, and he'll kind of maybe go over why he dropped and why he increased the rankings of some of the coaches. But for this power ranking right here, this is kind of a fresh list just from my perspective, my opinion. If you don't like my opinion of the rankings, no worries. You only have to deal with it for this 1 week, hopefully. And it'll be back to Carson next week, and hopefully he will be able to put a little more emphasis, a little bit more detail into his analysis. My analysis will be a little bit quicker, a little less detailed, just because I do have a lot of things going on within the league that I have to attend to besides this particular feature, the power rankings. But anyway, let's go ahead and start talking about the first week here. Week 1 was a little bit unique, in my opinion. There was a lot of matches that just weren't even close. There were a bunch of 6-0s, not a bunch of 6-0s. There was one 6-0. There was a couple of 5-0s though. I think there was 3 5-0s. There was a 2-0 and a 4-0. So a lot of matches that were pretty close. So my list is going to be reflective of those standings for the most part. There might be a little bit difference here and there, but for the most part, it's going to reflect the standings right now in the league. So let's go ahead and hop into it. We'll start going over who we have at number 12. At number 12, you have the Boston Beedrills, coached by myself, Miticus. Now, I'm not just putting myself down there because I'm trying to stay unbiased. I have a pattern of doing really, really bad in leagues. I've never actually had a winning record. I have made playoffs a few times with those records that were lacking, but I have never had a winning record or even an even record. The best record I think I might have had was like a 5-7. And I don't know these other coaches, the resume exactly, but I do know that I don't have the greatest resume as far as win-loss ratio. And then this week I got blown out by Panther, the coach of the Carolina Club Fables, one of the other commissioners of the APA. I was a 5-0, and I didn't prep well, and it just wasn't good. And I think that rightfully so, I deserve to be in that 12th spot. So it is what it is. I didn't prep well, and that's what happens. So in number 12, you got me, coach of the Boston Beedrills, Miticus. At number 11, we have the coach of the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise. We have my friend Point Blank, who he's going to find himself in the 11th spot. Yo, what's up, guys? Sorry for the interruption. I wanted to make some clarification here about the upcoming audio. I was under the impression that the B Sharp had actually Swords Danced, got +2, and then wrecked Kurt's team. But what actually happened was that the B Sharp was actually just choice banded, and he had gotten some speed. So I apologize for that. Doesn't really change what I feel about the power rankings per se. But just want to make that clarification because I think I do say it's a few times during this power ranking video that the B sharp had Swords Danced and that Kurt should have prepared for Swords Dancing B sharp. But that is not the case. So hope you enjoyed the next 10 evaluations, and I hope you enjoyed the previous 2. But guys, enjoy. He went against Jacob, the coach of the Green Bay Pikachus this week, and he got wiped out 5-0. In this match, one of the spotlights was that he let a B sharp just bully him. He let him bully him, and I think with a B sharp you gotta be prepared for that B sharp. It's a very, very dangerous Pokemon. If you let it set up on you, it's going to do a tremendous amount of damage to your team. You have to have the checks. You have to have the counters for that B sharp. B sharp's a great Pokemon. So Kurt, I'm sorry, but you're gonna find yourself right here at number 11. I know your skill is better than 11, so I'm not going to be doing these power rankings in the future, but I know for a fact if I was, that on my list, I would see you slowly progress up in the rankings. So no hard feelings, but number 11 is what I saw fit for your team and your play style and your, not your play style like overall, but just your play style in that one particular battle. And just kind of how, there wasn't really an answer for that B sharp. So, moving on, number 10. This was an interesting match. We have at number 10 the team Houston Raichus, coached by Tesla Mouse. As of this recording, Tesla Mouse has actually exited the APA. Unfortunately, there was just some issues going on, and he didn't feel like he could match up with, I guess, maybe the talent that surrounded him, or maybe his draft just wasn't as good as he was hoping. I'm not really sure what the issue was there, but I went ahead and put him on this ranking as he did play his week 1 match, and he actually played his week 2 match as well. So we'll probably include him maybe in the next AP. I don't know what Carson's going to do. That's kind of his decision on how he wants to handle that. But Tesla Mouse went against Coach Espelancer, the coach of the Dallas Staryu, and he got wiped out 6-0. Now, the reason that I don't have him last on this list is because he went against a guy who I don't understand. I don't think he understood the creativity that was going to get used against him with the team that he faced. He got wiped out by a Politoed who had been baton passed an agility from a Zapdos and a substitute, and then the Politoed went and belly drummed, and then it had the appropriate coverage moves to OHKO his whole team. Now you might think, oh, you get swept by a Politoed, you should be dead last or lower. Well, in my opinion, like, that's just such a surprise set that it's something your brain just does not prep for. Like, you prep for a setup, a B sharp. You mentally prepare for that. But a Politoed, not so much. So I feel like he lost the battle for that exact reason, and that's just something I feel like it's just a shock. You're gonna get surprised. So it's unfortunate. I did put him at number 10 instead of like number 11 or 12, even though he technically is last in the league now. But power ranking isn't always about your standings. I do believe that if it was a more standard team, more standard prep, he would have done just fine. Not saying he would have won, but I think it would have been a much closer game and a lot better game for him. So that's kind of my reasoning behind putting him at number 10. At number 9, we have the Sherbrooke Talonflames, coached by Falski. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Falski went against Coach Jay Specs of the Hamden Hydragons. It was a 4-0 against them. There was some questionable plays in that match. Some questionable decisions, some switch-ins that may have not have been appropriate. So at number 9, Falski, that's where you're standing in my power rankings this week. It was a good match. I mean, it kind of went back and forth for a little bit. But Falski just never could quite get the momentum that he needed. J-Specs was always able to kind of stay one step ahead of him. At number 8, we're going to have one of the newest commissioners of the APA. We have Elite Four Dan, the coach of the Addlestone and Faros. Now, Dan went against Archie Knight, coach of the San Antonio Victory Bells, this week. And Dan kind of got blown out like me. Now, he is a little bit higher up this list. And that's simply because I think Dan has a really good draft. I think Dan is a good battler. I think he has a lot of thought behind his sets, behind his play style. So that's why you're going to find Dan at number 8 on this list, ahead of Falski, which technically has a better record when you count. Well, actually, no, he has a better record in general because. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They have the same record. They're both 0-1. By differential is what I mean. Because Dan has a -5 differential, while Falski has a -4. That's what I was trying to say. Brain just was not. It was not working for me there. So, like I said, Dan is a great battler. Number 8, appropriate for this week, I think. And moving on, we have our first close game of the season. It was the Orlando City Superiors, coached by D-Pad Gamer. So D-Pad Gamer is going to find himself in the 7th spot of Miticus's power rankings for week 1. He went against the New York Cosmogs, coached by Phantom Base. It was a 2-0 in Phantom Base's favor. It was a good game, very good game. Came down kind of to the wire. See, here's the issue. D-Pad actually came into the league with a team that he basically had to adopt. It wasn't his own team that he created from scratch. This was a team that was given to him because the previous coach failed on their commitment and was not able to participate. And I think that's kind of where D-Pad is having some issues. Not that being 2-0 is an issue. It's just that I don't think he has an exact he doesn't have chemistry with the team because it's not a team that he built. And when you don't build your own team, you're not able to put those features into that team that you're comfortable with. Everybody has their own play style that they're comfortable with, and if you're just handed a team and you're like, hey, work with this, it can cause complications. But I'm pretty sure that D-Pad is going to be able to turn this around. I mean, he only has to overcome a -2 differential, and it's the first game of the season. So at number 7, that's where we're going to see him. And I think we're going to see some good things from this guy. I can definitely see him finishing within the top half in the power rankings. I mean, he's already there. But I expect him to float in that area for the rest of the season. Next, we have the coach, a coach who won their battle this week instead of lost. The previous ones have all lost their battles. So now we have Jacob as always. Jacob is the coach of the Green Bay Pikachus. He's in the 6th spot for week 1 in the power rankings. He went against, as I mentioned earlier, Point Blank, coach of the Winnipeg Blastoise. He 5-0'd Kurt with a B sharp. And if you set up a B sharp, you're probably going to do some work. So you're going to see him at number 6. The thing is, I think Jacob is going to be an outstanding coach. And I think he's probably going to finish the season in the top 5. Possibly even in the top 3 somewhere. But from that match, I just didn't see a ton from his team besides a B sharp that just wrecked Point Blank's life. So there's that. He's at number 6. At number 5, we have Arky Knight, the coach of the San Antonio Victory Bells, who 5-0'd Dan. Dan just really struggled that match. Arky Knight took advantage of that, and honestly, he just wiped Dan out. I think Arky Knight has a great team. I think I've heard some really good things about Arky Knight. I don't know too much about him personally. This is my first experience with him. Excuse my phone, guys. So this is my first experience with him, but I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be really, really good. So let's move on to the Hamden Hydreigons, who are number 4 on our list. Coached by Jay Specs, went up against Fautsky. When I watched this match, I saw Jay Specs always constantly thinking ahead. Telling himself, preparing for these certain switch-ins, preparing for certain sets. And I just thought, okay, this guy, he knows what he's doing. I was impressed with his battle. I was impressed with his thought process throughout the battle. I think he has a great team. And I think top 5 is going to be where he's going to be sitting all season long. If he continues that. Obviously, sometimes you have stronger weeks than you do overall. Sometimes you have weaker weeks than you have overall. So, this is just my observation from a lot of these coaches. I've never seen battle before. So, it's not to say that Jay Specs next week, isn't number 1 or isn't number 11. This is my observation of one battle. And it's hard to take away a lot from one battle, but sometimes people just show you certain things that you're like, well, I think that was a next level play. You hear people talk about next level plays. And I think to me, what that means is you're thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, and you're making a move that's going to affect the game 2, 3, or 4 turns later. You're making switches, you're making doubles that are going to affect the and it's going to affect the play of your opponent a few turns after your current turn. So next level plays, I just felt like he made some next level plays, which is why you're going to see him at number 4. At number 3, we have the New York Cosmogs, coached by Phantom Base. He had a close match with the Orlando City Superiors with that 2-0 that I was talking about earlier. I've seen Phantom Base play a couple of times, a few matches in other leagues. He's very consistent. He's always making good plays. He rarely, that I've seen, makes any kind of plays that are head scratchers. And that's really important, because if you limit your mistakes, you're going to have more wins. Pokemon is one of those things where if you make one mistake and you lose the momentum that you have, the entire game can flip-flop on you. And this is something I don't see from Phantom Base very often. Now, I'm not saying that I'm an expert on him. There could be 5 or 6 other leagues that he's in that he's 0-12 in. I don't know. But from what I've seen, my experience with him, he's always been very, very consistent. And that's why we're going to find him at number 3 on this list. But let's go ahead and let's finish this power ranking up and move on to number 2. on the list. Number 2 is going to be my fellow founding father of the APA, one of the commissioners, Panther, the coach of the Carolina Clefables. Now, this guy, let's go back to those next level plays. This guy's, every play that he makes is like a next level play. And this isn't just my opinion. It's almost like a fact at this point. And you know, you can ask anybody that you talk to that this guy's always consistently the number 1 player in the league. In any league almost, he's like the number 1, maybe the number 2 player in that league. And you cannot consistently do that with different drafts and not be one of those next level players. You can't do it. He consistently drafts a team that has variety in it. So it's not like he's drafting the same team every season. That meshes well together. That has that synergy that we're all looking for in a team. Always has that. It has the diversity that a team needs. It has those special attackers. It has those physical attackers. It has those physical walls, those special walls, those utility Pokemon, those support Pokemon. In every draft lineup that you're going to see from Panther, you're going to see that formula in every single one with a totally different lineup. And I mean, you can ask anybody. That's just impressive. So number 2, I mean, really, honestly, it could be number 1. But I'm only putting him on number 2, and you know, this is maybe not the fairest thing to do, but his week 1 match was against me. He 5-0'd me, and again, I'm at number 12. So you know, just based on the strength of his schedule for week 1, you know, I just couldn't give him that number 1 spot because he was facing me, who's, while he's consistently really good and one of the number 1 or 2 players in the league, I'm consistently bad and number last in most leagues. Excuse me. Let me cough real quick. So you know, if he would have played somebody else, and maybe the score would have been a little bit closer, and I could have saw that, you know, he really was able to be creative and have to be challenged and come through with that, he probably would have got the number 1 spot. But because he got me week 1, you know, that beating me is not that impressive. I'm basically ranking him number 2 for his draft that he has and for previous experience with him and his resume. So not to say that the match that he had against me wasn't good. I mean, he 5-0'd me. I mean, it's still fairly hard to 5-0 somebody in Pokemon. So that being said, I think 2 is a great spot for him. Really do. Okay, so next we have number 1, the only coach that we have not mentioned in the lineup. We mentioned him a little earlier when we were talking about his opponent for week 1. It is Espelancer, the coach of the Dallas Staryu, who now has the famous set with the Politoed, in which he took a Zapdos, hit it behind a sub, got up in agility, and baton passed both of those things to his Politoed, who in return belly drummed and wiped out Tesla Mouse's entire team, and now leads the league in MVP, in the MVP race. So you take a Politoed, you take this creative set of a belly drum Politoed. Now let's say this, Politoed is not a physical attacker. Politoed is a special attacker. And Politoed is used more than not as, you know, somebody to kind of support your team. Not to say you can't be a great offensive presence. Obviously, when you just knocked out 6 Pokemon, that Pokemon has potential to be a physical presence. It's just not typically seen though. So that's his team name. Espelancer was able to take this Politoed. He was able to prep it to the most precise amount of EVs in every single stat with the exact amount of coverage that he needed, and played out that battle, knocking out, or not knocking out, but getting certain Pokemon down to exactly where he knew they had to be for this Politoed to come in with an agility with a substitute and 6-0 his opponent. Now you might just think, okay, well, you know, maybe it just played out that way. Guys, it didn't just play out this way. I watched his team builder. Team builders take place before the battle. This guy planned everything that happened and made it happen. We all go in with the hopes that the plan that we made will come true. I know I do. I know every one of you listening, if you play a match, that's what you hope too. You build this team, you build these sets, and you have this plan that you're hoping you can make happen. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of times it doesn't happen the way you want it to. Or maybe it does happen, but there's a few things that you wish would have happened differently. Espelancer specifically said everything that he needed to do in his team builder, and in his battle made those exact things happen. That's pretty amazing. He didn't miss a beat. Everything that he said he was going to do, he did. And that's why he gets the #1 spot in the APA this week. That's why he is the #1 coach right now in the APA, and his Politoed is leading the league in the MVP race. I don't think there's any argument for being #1, for him being #1. I just don't. And that's why another reason Panther gets #2. I didn't want to talk about it too much because I wanted to go into more detail when I got to #1. But just with what he was able to do, and the fact that I watched his team builder and he was able to do everything that he wanted to do, that he prepped for, and those EVs specifically came into play with the speed, with the attack, with everything that he was able to do, getting the Politoed on the field when he needed to get him on the field. I mean, it was really impressive. I don't think that there's any other word out there that explains it better. It was really, really impressive. So there you go, guys. At #1, we have the Dallas Staryu. At #2, we have the Carolina Clefable. At #3, we have the New York Cosmogs. 4, we have the Hamden Hydreigons. 5, San Antonio Victory Bells. 6, the Green Bay Pikachus. 7, the Orlando City Superiors. At #8, the Addlestone and Faros. At #9, the Sherbrooke Talonflames. At #10, the Houston Raichus, who will be getting replaced in the coming weeks. At #11, the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise. And #12, myself, the Boston Beedrills. There's your lineup, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this power rankings. I hope that I did not offend anybody. That is definitely not my goal in this. I just wanted to bring an informative video to the team and kind of show you where I believe everybody is sitting at this current moment. I'm going to hope that I can increase my ranking at least a little bit. Don't want to finish off this season in the last spot. So I'm going to work really hard to increase my ranking. And I know everybody else is going to work hard to increase theirs. Or if you're Espelancer, work very hard to remain in that #1 spot, because that is something to definitely be proud of. So guys, if you've liked this video, make sure you subscribe to the APA channel to keep up to date with any kind of analyst videos that we put up. There's also every week going to be a playlist on the channel that's going to give you all 6 battles, or all 12 battles really, because one battle from each perspective from all 12 coaches. Make sure you support those coaches. Go right now and subscribe to every single YouTube and follow on every single Twitter for all the coaches that you see in front of you. I'm going to put those links in the description below. These are some really, really fantastic coaches, some fantastic people. I'm having a ton of fun playing with them this season. Can't wait for the coming weeks when I get to play each one of these coaches. I know that it's just going to be a blast. It's going to be a blast. Next week, expect for your power rankings to be done by Carson, Creeperhugger. I know he's going to do a much better job at this than I did. I have very few notes that I actually jotted down, so hopefully I was able to accurately describe most of these matches and these coaches. Again, Please do not take anything I said personally. This is just from my observation. But guys, we will see you in the coming weeks. Keep track. Make sure you subscribe right now to the APA YouTube. Right now, go click that subscribe button. Leave some comments below. Tell me what you think about the positions of each of these coaches. I mean, y'all probably know the situations of the battles a little bit better than I do. And make sure you hit that like button. Liking that video, especially if you have your YouTube linked to your Twitter, it posts the video on your YouTube so people can see it. And I would love for this video to be seen and this channel to be seen by as many people as possible. So guys, until next time, I will see you later. Week 2 will be out. I'll have to talk to Carson about it, but hopefully next weekend, maybe even earlier. Until then, guys, peace.